in, Amy?
Oh, I'm sorry, Chris. It's already begun.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Just bear with me 1 second then, Chair, just to confirm that that stream is live, and then I'll start the housekeeping for you. Okay, all, good morning. Welcome to the meeting of the Standards Committee of the 25th of September 2025. May I remind everyone present, please, that the meeting is being live streamed as well as recorded via the internet, and that this recording archived for future viewing. If a participant wishes to speak, can they please use the raise hand button, which is in the bottom left-hand side of their screen, and to get the chair or myself attention. When invited to address by the chair, Mr. Richard Hendicott, please could all participants ensure that their microphone and camera is on to ensure that they can be seen and heard when actively participating. Please ensure that all debate is raised verbally and not via the chat function for the sake of the recording. Thank you, Chair. That concludes the housekeeping.
Well, thank you very much, and welcome to this meeting. The first item on the agenda are apologies for absence.
Yes, Chair. So apologies have been received from independent members, Mr. Watkins and Mr. Alexander. And also apologies have been received from Councillor Birch and Councillor Charles. And if I may, Chair, for the record, just to advise that apologies from Councillor Charles and Birch have been received in order to ensure the accuracy for the meeting this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The minutes of the meeting held on the 17th of January. I read through those afterwards and approved them at that stage. I've read through them again. There's no problem as far as I'm concerned. Does anybody have any issues with them? No, I shall take your silence as being acceptance. So those minutes.
Could I just come in, Chair, just to confirm, no issues with the accuracy of the minutes at all, but just to confirm that the Standards Committee annual report is being reported to full council on Monday. So just for that to be noted.
Thank you very much. Number 3, to receive declarations of interest and the nature of such interests. Are there any? I'll quickly go through just to check. Councillor Franks? You're on mute. You're on mute at the moment.
Nothing to declare.
Thank you. Councillor Summers?
Nothing to declare.
Mr. Alford?
Nothing to declare, Chair.
Thank you very much. So item 4 is applications for dispensation. I'm going to hand this over to our monitoring officer to deal with.
Thank you, Chair. Members of the committee, this report sets out the applications for dispensation that have been received in time for the dispatch of the agenda, and you'll see the applications are included in the report at Appendix 1. As outlined, should any further applications be received prior to the meeting, these will be circulated to members and published on the Council's website. Any late applications received after agenda dispatch are for the committee to decide whether or not to accept for consideration. The applications before you today were previously presented to committee. However, to ensure clarity and completeness of decision making, I've requested that they be brought back for formal determination. So I'd remind members of the committee that the Standards Committee Grant of Dispensation Wales Regulations 2001 permits members to apply for dispensations in order to speak and, where appropriate, to vote on matters in which they may otherwise have a prejudicial interest. Appendix 1, therefore, details applications submitted by councillors for your consideration, including Councillor Belinda Lovelock-Edwards in respect of the Visit the Vale service and in respect of the Coastlands Food Bank, Councillor Hennessy in respect of matters relating to the SACRA, Members are reminded that the Standards Committee has previously agreed that urgent applications may be dealt with under delegated authority to myself in consultation with the Chair. And since the last meeting, no such applications have been received. So the recommendation, Chair, is before you is that the committee considers and determines the dispensation applications listed in Appendix 1 in order to comply with the regulations governing the grant of dispensations. And as I've indicated, these have come before the committee previously and were granted, and for the reasons outlined within the report, they are being brought back today just to confirm clarity and completeness of that decision.
Thank you very much. I'm not sure if you were all at the last meeting, but we'll go through them again. Belinda Lovelock-Edwards, the first one, dispensation to speak, vote and remain in meetings where issues are raised at meetings of the council in respect of the Vale of Glamorgan Council visit the Vale. Her husband is self-employed businessman running tourist walks and talks across the Vale. And as such, he has worked with the Vale of Glamorgan Council tourism team as part of the Visit the Vale service and Visit Wales. So she has that interest, but really nothing else. And I think we were happy to speak and vote under D&G. I think it's appropriate that she is granted that dispensation. Councillor Franks? Councillor Summers?
I'm happy with the previous decision and that we continue with that.
Thank you. Greg Alford?
No observations, Chair, as been outlined in this previous.
You're happy with that, are you? Yeah. Councillor Franks, are you there?
Sorry, I had too much data on my screen, and I could hear you, but I couldn't find you. No adverse comments.
Thank you very much. So that will be granted. The second one is again by Belinda Lovelock-Edwards, and is a very similar application. This is in relation to the Vale of Glamorgan Coastlands Food Bank, and her husband has recently taken up employment with the Coastlands Vale Food Bank. Again, that is to speak and vote. I'm happy with that. Councillor Franks?
No adverse comment.
Thank you. Councillor Summers?
I'm happy with that in general. I'm just trying to double check, Chair. Did we actually say that she shouldn't be a vote on financial matters previously?
Yes, we did. Yes, yeah. So we'll continue with that. Mr. Alford?
No observations, Chair.
Thank you very much. And then finally, William Hennessy, dispensation to speak and vote in meetings of the Vale and Barry Town Council when matters relating to the organisation SEGR, a Standing Advisory Council on Religious Education. He wants to speak and vote. He's been appointed to SEGR independently from the Vale. I don't think there's any problem there. Councillor Franks, do you agree?
I agree.
Thank you. Councillor Summers?
I agree, Chair.
Thank you. And Mr. Alford?
I also agree, Chair.
Right, so that will be granted to speak and vote and to paragraphs D and F. Thank you very much. We'll move on to observations by independent members of the Vale. As you know, the independent members go out to the various community and town councils and see what's going on and prepare a report. I think I've done one, and Mr. Alford's. Sorry, I've done three, and I think Mr. Alford's done one. So I will go through. I'll do all my three at once, if you like, and then Mr. Alford can report on his. My first visit was on the 24th of July to Llantwit Major Town Council. I attended this by video, and I have to say, I thought the experience was very unsatisfactory by video. My comment at the end was the sound on the video was very poor. I'm not sure if this was the Vale Glamorgan laptop or the recording from Llantwit Major. I emailed the clerk asking if the sound could be checked, but I haven't received a reply. I think it would have been impossible for a member of the public to follow it online. The sound was very poor. The photography, for want of a better word, was also poor, because if somebody commented, you didn't actually see who was speaking, so it was very difficult to follow, the experience of watching it by video was unsatisfactory as far as I was concerned. And the other two, I decided to go in person because I think that's so much better. Anyway, having said that, everything was very good. Everything went through smoothly. The motions were moved and seconded. It was a very well run council. Started on time, finished 8:30, and it seems to be, as far as I was concerned, it was working very well. So I had no real comments to make, other than the fact that it was disappointing I couldn't really follow it online. On the 2nd of September, I went in person to St Athan Community Council, and I have to say that was so much better. It was a very well-run meeting. Everything was satisfactory. Interestingly, there was no part 2. They rarely have one, was my note. There was on one instance, some items were discussed without a report, but the chair put a stop to that. I was concerned about the declarations of interest and dispensation. There wasn't a request to declare an interest. However, on the agenda, there were 2 grants of dispensation were referred to. But there was no explanation of the interest was made, and no reference was made to them again. My impression was that they didn't really understand the procedure for that. I didn't know. I could have worked out who the 2 councillors were, but I didn't know the nature, and I don't know what the grants were for. So I think that is something that they perhaps ought to look at. But it finished at 8:30, having started at 7. My general comment at the end was it was a good meeting with councillors clearly interested in their work. The chairman allowed quite a lot of chatter to go on, and in the end, she controlled it by the means of a gavel, which I've never come across before. And I think it woke me up, if not the rest, or something. Anyway, it was, but it was overall a very good meeting. And then the third occasion was recently at Penarth, and I was struck by the difference that where you get a large conurbation like Penarth to the smaller community councils, how they had so many employees, etc. This was very well run. There was no part two again. Interestingly, they did not have any system or any arrangement for members of the public to speak. And I know that I was speaking to somebody who wanted to speak but was unable to do so. I don't know whether it's a formality that they should or they shouldn't, but I think it's something that could be considered with all the councils. Again, they had no part two. People got up and left at various stages where they'd had an interest. It wasn't made very clear why they had got up and left. I asked that afterwards. I think they were trustees of a building, etc. It was a very good meeting, experienced councillors, well run, with employees having prepared reports, and everybody worked together. So really my report on the three is that they are good, they are working well, and nothing really for us to worry about there. So now, Greg Alford, could you possibly, I think you've been to see one council, can you give us a report, please?
If I may, Chair, could I just quickly interject there, because just to confirm that Mr. Alford did have a visit arranged for a September date to Dinas Powys Community Council, but that date's now been rearranged to October. So Mr. Alford hasn't had the opportunity to observe just yet. So the only other observation other than yours to date would be Mr. Alexander has observed St Nicholas and Bonvilston Community Council. So obviously Mr. Alexander will provide his update now at the next meeting of this committee.
Okay. Yes, Councillor Summers.
Thank you, Chair. If I may just sort of come back with my TCC representative hat on the point you made about the quality of the video and the sound and everything at the Lantuit, I think it was, meeting that you went to. I think this is indicative of the problem which most small town and community councils have, in that they don't have the finance or the facilities available for the sort of sophisticated system that we have in the large town councils or in the Vale. And the quality, therefore, is often very suspect, which is why a number of councils in the Vale actually adopt the policy of saying that they ask if anybody wishes to work that meeting remotely, both councillors or public, to declare it to the clerk in advance of the meeting. And then the whole meeting is then held remotely on Teams usually, so that there is a much clearer definition and a much better picture for everybody to see. So I think that possibly is maybe worth noting. Equally, if I may just take this opportunity to say there's been a number of, or the start of a number of meetings amongst the smaller Vale councils, particularly in the Western Vale, to try and work together more closely as a group and to build up liaison between those small councils to help things run more smoothly. I'm sure that that group is going to report back more formally to various departments in the council in due course. But one thing that did come up, which is potentially specifically relevant to us on the Standards Committee, is that there were a number of representations from different community councils suggesting that our visits to them, whilst very useful as they stand, could also be a forum for the visiting representative to discuss with the council, probably at the end of the meeting, how their relationship was with their councillors, with the Vale executive, community liaison committee, etc. In other words, how the council worked with the Vale Council. And I think a number of, as I say, councils suggested that this could be a useful extension or would make our visits to them much more meaningful. So I don't know if that's something we could consider. I don't think it needs necessarily a specific extra question or anything on our spreadsheet, but it may be something that visiting independent members wish to take up and comment on in their report. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I entirely agree with that second point. And in fact, on the two attendances when I was in person, I took the opportunity at the end to speak to the chair and the clerk. And they were sort of, if you like, anxious. How did we do? Etc. And we had very positive conversations for 10 minutes about what I thought, and I asked questions for why this or why that, and they explained it to me, and I think they found that useful. So I think that's very good, and it's something that we should consider. Councillor Franks, do you want to say something?
Thank you. I'd like to congratulate you in going to three community council meetings. Well done. I would make a plea that we recognise that many of these councils will struggle regarding video and the like. I've had experience of it working, but it often is because an outsider, a close outsider, but an outsider has a bit of tech knowledge and is able to overcome a few gremlins. So I would urge us to be generous when it comes to the quality of the video screening. I'm glad, Chair, you enjoyed the gavel experience. Some chairs love using the gavel, others don't. I've noted your comments regarding interest declarations, and I think sometimes, again, we have to be a little bit more generous, because most people in that room will know the nature of the interest, and sometimes we can get tangled up with declaring when, in fact, the councillors had left the room. You know, that's the key point, isn't it? They'd gone. I know it might not be strictly the process, but again, it's something to bear in mind. Regarding your kind offer to have a post-meeting consultation, my heart sank a little bit. Another hour of discussion, but you saved the day by saying 10 minutes, and I think that would be very helpful. A brief chat at the end of the meeting might be productive, whereas an hour-long meeting extension might be a bit onerous. And again, thank you for visiting our colleagues out there.
Thanks. Rest assured, I would not have stayed there for an hour, and 10 minutes was quite enough. No, with regard to the dispensations, I take your point, but I'm looking at it as a member of the public attending, and it may be everybody. Probably it is the case that everybody there knows why Councillor X is leaving the room, because, you know, for the reason that he might have an interest in the property that's being developed, etc. But I'm looking at it as a member of the public who's coming there and thinks, well, why has that person left the room? It's also a very good reminder that to people that, oh yes, I have got an interest in this. This is the nature of the interest, and I think I think we've stressed this over the years. What is the nature of the interest, and that doesn't come out, and then we know why they've left the room. So thanks for that. Those comments, Councillor Franks. Councillor Summers, did you want to add something else?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I very much agree with you, by the way, and in terms of the need for clarity in terms of dispensations. Just so everybody, even within the council, understands why. Although it is true that in many of the small councils, there probably aren't members of the public there one way or the other. So, explaining is not that critical as long as it's on the record. Just coming back to the point I'd raised before, if I may, though, regarding the sort of follow-up discussion with the councillors, I think the feedback to them is very important and would be greatly appreciated. I think the point that they were raising was actually to use the opportunity of the visit to get an understanding of how well the community council, the town council, felt its or how good or bad or what could be done about its relationship and its working with the Vale, which is obviously something which is important to us, because apart from the meetings running smoothly, we want to make sure that the communication from those meetings to the Vale is the best it can be. And I think, the 3 points they raised specifically was communication with their councillors, their Vale councillors, communication with the Vale authority, with executive, and the working of the community liaison committee. So I think they will be coming back in greater detail to the council in general on that point. But if there's, it's worth, I think, us perhaps taking that opportunity to get some feedback from them ourselves.
Thank you. I think Vicky has a meeting coming up. Do you want to speak?
Yes, thanks. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, members. Some of that contribution was really, really helpful. And I just wanted to make a few points, really. And Councillor Summers, I think you've touched on one element of what I'm about to discuss. Generally, in relation to feedback from these observation meetings, what I'd propose to the committee is that that constructive feedback is provided to chairs of the relevant town and community councils, and I meet on a 6-monthly basis with clerks of town and community councils in the Vale, and there's a meeting scheduled in November, so I'll be proposing that I raise some of these points at those meetings. And I don't know if the committee will be aware, but I have regular contact with town and community councils in the Vale, obviously not just in relation to member code of conduct issues, but support is provided within resources to those town and community councils. So just to make that point firstly. Secondly, and it was a comment that Councillor Summers, you made in relation to the technology that supports, or not as the case may be, meetings of town and community councils. I know the SENES, Local Government and Housing Committee, undertook a recent inquiry in relation to the role and governance and accountability of the community and town council sector. The committee produced a report in March of this year, and one element of that report considers Welsh Government's reference to the statutory guidance under the Local Government and Election Wales Act 2021. And aside from the proposal to introduce mandatory code of conduct training for town and community councils and a formal consultation on that, the report also looked at greater support via principal councils to help community councils with IT infrastructure and sharing facilities for hybrid or multi-location meetings. So that, I think, touches on the point that Councillor Summers made earlier. There are other elements to that report which I won't go into, but that's one aspect that Welsh Government has looked at. And I attended with another monitoring officer from Bridgend, I think it was the week before last, a Welsh Government workshop. It was facilitated by the local government policy team. And there were several representatives from town and community councils, clerks and chairs. And I just wanted to say that when I spoke and my counterpart in Bridgend spoke about the observation meetings that each of us respectively, each of our respective independent members of our standards committee undertake, that was very much welcomed by other chairs of community councils across Wales whose standards committee independent members don't undertake those observation visits. And Welsh Government in particular were quite interested in that work. So I just wanted to mention that point. Councillor Summers' point about the collaborative working relationship with the executive and the council, very important. That's something that this authority is very keen to develop. And there is work going on in that space, particularly around the scrutiny aspect. And just very lastly, Chair, in relation to Penarth Town Council, I just wanted to clarify that they do have provision within their standing orders for a member of the public to come and speak at a meeting. So there is provision within their standing orders. But as the meetings of council are dealing with specific service areas, the decision on whether or not a member of the public speaks is a matter for the community, for the town council. So I just wanted to note that there is provision within the standing orders for speaking at meetings at Penarth Town Council. But the other comments I will be feeding back to respective chairs and clerks. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Well, there may have been provision, but this person wanted to speak and was told he couldn't. Councillor Summers, I think your hand was up earlier.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'd just pick up on monitoring officer's comment there about the positive response that she got at that meeting to the work that is done in the Vale. I think I'd like to reinforce that, because I know that whatever criticisms we may have of our relationships and our working scenarios between the community councils, the Vale Council and everything else, I think generally there are many councils who would love to have the relationship that we do have in the Vale. It is recognised in many other councils around Wales that our community liaison group and our monitoring of community and town councils, whilst it might not be perfect, is a lot better than in many other places. So we shouldn't kick ourselves too hard.
Thank you. Councillor Franks?
Thank you. This has been very interesting, especially the comments regarding the relationship with the Vale. But can committee bear in mind that community councils also deal with other statutory organisations, such as the police, and a chat that the post-meeting chat might also incorporate the community council and town council's relationship with these other bodies. Maybe that's expanding it too much, but it wouldn't do any harm to consider the matter. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. I think we've had a good discussion on that. By the next meeting, some other councils will be visited and reports made. Right, we move on to item 6, civility in public life. Vicky, are you able to deal with this, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair, members. So this item is about the Civility in Public Life programme, which members hopefully will recall from the report I brought in September last year as a UK-wide initiative led by the Local Government Association, albeit in partnership with the WLGA in Wales, COSLA, Scotland and NILGA, which is the Northern Ireland equivalent. At its heart, the programme is about protecting our democracy by tackling abuse and intimidation in public life, keeping councillors safe and encouraging healthier, more respectful debate. So it's just a brief update report for committee since the last report was brought here in September 2024. And I think it demonstrates that there has been some real momentum within the programme. The Debate Not Hate campaign has been evaluated and shown to make a positive difference, with over 600 councillors benefiting from new workshops on personal safety and tackling online harassment. A new Defending Democracy policing protocol has also been launched, which gives every councillor a dedicated police contact for councillor safety. And here in Wales, the WLGA has continued to prioritise civility and has hosted, and I think, Chair, you attended one such event, national events, and keeping the spotlight very much on councillor wellbeing and respectful standards of conduct. Looking ahead, there's been a recent, or there is to be soon, an event in North Wales, in Conwy actually. I think it's this October the event is scheduled for, which will bring together councillors, officers and standards committees to share best practice on creating a safe and constructive culture of debate. So the simple recommendation is today that we note the progress being made, but the bigger message is that civility and respect are becoming firmly embedded across the UK as essential ingredients of a healthy democracy.
Thank you for that. Are there any comments or questions? No, that seems to be. Thank you for keeping us up to date on that item. Moving on to item 7, correspondence with the Public Service Ombudsman for Wales. It's again you, Vicky.
Thank you, Chair. The report before you is a Part 1 report, which will, when we move into Part 2 of the agenda, enable me to provide a verbal overview of correspondence with the Public Service Ombudsman for Wales and any matters arising. I'd note the recommendation here is that the Standards Committee notes the content of the Part 1 report and considers the updates on correspondence with the Public Service Ombudsman for Wales and matters arising under Part 2 report on the agenda.
Thank you, that will be noted. Any items which the Chair has decided are urgent, nothing's been brought to my attention. Vicky, can you put off? Can you?
Sorry.
Nothing is urgent, but I want to raise with you how we hold our meetings, because as you know, up to now they have been remote. I'm not suggesting we make any decision today, but I think there's a feeling that these meetings would be better if people attended in person. That's not to say that they have to, that it can still be done remotely. And so I think it would have to be that we turn it into a hybrid meeting. I'm looking at Vicky for, is that right?
Yeah, so, yeah, do you want me to come in now, Chair?
Well, yes.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm not.
Sorry, I'm not suggesting we do anything today or take any decision, but I'm just sort of laying out plans for the future as to how we might hold these meetings and whether we ought to go back to having them in person as we used to prior to COVID. Yes, Vicky, do you want to address us?
It was just really to clarify for the committee's understanding that our current multi-location meeting policy makes certain provisions for meetings of the committees of the council, whether they be hybrid meetings or remote meetings. There would need to be a review and changes made to that policy off the back of your suggestion, Chair. There is going to be a review of the policy in due course. So it's a matter that can be considered, I'd suggest, at that stage. There is nothing to prevent members subject to views of the Democratic Services officer, members coming into the chamber if they would like to do so, albeit the meetings would still, unless and until there's a change in the MLM policy, the meetings would still be held remotely. But that is an option.
Thanks. Thanks. I don't want to take it much further than that at the moment. It's interesting that it is being reviewed. Councillor Summers, do you want to comment?
Just very quickly, Chair, but noting that monitoring officers say there's a review coming up, at the meetings with the community councils that I referred to earlier, again, this was something that has come up. There is potentially a feeling that we've perhaps swung too much towards remote meetings, and with committees and things like that, at least some meetings should be face to face because of the benefits of that. So I think there's, it's not just us that's thinking about that. There is quite a groundswell which is suggesting that we're perhaps missing out on certain elements by having all our meetings remotely. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that puts it very well. So that concludes part one. With your agreement, we'll move to part two. Does everybody agree? I'll take your silence as being yes. So we'll move into part two.
Okay, Chair, if you just bear with me one moment, just to confirm that we've gone into confidential.